Where is my mother? Little girl points gun at bikers in tearjerking search for single mom. The wind rolled across the dry plains like a whisper from the past, carrying dust, sorrow, and a faint smell of gasoline. The sun was bleeding gold over the horizon when the townsfolk heard the roar of engines coming down from the northern road, the road no one used anymore. The gang was back. At the far end of the main street, a tiny figure stood barefoot in the dirt, clutching something shiny and trembling in her small hands. She couldn't have been more than 7. Her long brown hair tangled in the wind, her cheeks streaked with tears and dust. In her grip was a pistol that looked far too big for her fragile fingers. Her voice cracked through the air like a broken bell. "Where is my mother?" she cried, her voice trembling but fierce, her eyes locked on the bikers. The men on the bikes slowed, confusion flashing across their tattooed faces. Their leader, a tall man with a beard like burnt copper and eyes as sharp as desert glass, cut his engine first. His name was Cole Rayner, a man people whispered about in bars and prayed they'd never meet. He swung his leg off the bike, boots crunching on gravel, and lifted his hands. "Easy there, sweetheart," he said softly. "You don't wanna hurt yourself." The girl took a step back, the gun shaking harder. "You took her. My mama didn't come home last night. I saw your bikes. I saw the skull on your jackets." Cole's eyes darkened. His men shifted nervously. The town had seen that emblem before, the black skull with red wings. It belonged to the Iron Vultures, a biker gang known for trouble. But Cole's crew wasn't the Vultures. He'd left them years ago. "I'm not one of them anymore," Cole said gently, lowering his voice as he took a slow step closer. "Your mama's missing, huh? What's her name?" Lydia Moore." The girl's lip trembled. "She works at the diner. She didn't come home. I waited and waited, but she never came." Cole froze. The name hit something deep. Lydia. He knew her. The kind waitress who always poured him coffee when he passed through town. The woman who smiled at everyone like she had light left in a world that had gone dark. He'd seen her just yesterday. He knelt slowly, keeping his hands visible. "Put the gun down, darling. We'll find her together. I promise." For a moment, silence swallowed the wind. Then the girl's hands dropped, and she broke into sobs. The pistol fell into the dirt. Cole caught her as she stumbled forward, her little body trembling like a leaf in a storm. "Shh," he whispered, his voice breaking without him realizing. "We'll find her." He lifted her into his arms, and as his men watched, they saw something rare. Cole Rayner, the man they thought had no heart, holding a crying child like she was made of glass. The girl's name was Ellie. By nightfall, Cole had driven her to the small diner where Lydia worked. The place was closed, the door half open, the inside dark except for the flicker of a neon sign. Cole pushed the door open, his jaw tight. Dishes were scattered. The cash drawer open. There were marks on the floor, signs of a struggle. Ellie clung to his jacket, her little voice barely a whisper. "She wouldn't leave me." Cole's throat tightened. "I know, kid, she didn't." He pulled out his phone and called a name he hadn't in years. Deputy Harris, the only man in the county who still halfway trusted him. When Harris showed up, his flashlight cut through the shadows. "Cole Rayner," Harris muttered. "You causing trouble again?" "Not this time," Cole said. "This woman's missing. Lydia Moore. You know her." Harris' expression softened when he saw Ellie. "Jesus," he murmured. "You her girl." Ellie nodded, tears welling. "Again." Harris sighed. "We found her car near Miller's Ridge this morning. Driver's side door open, purse still inside. No tracks past the woods." Cole's jaw clenched. "The Vultures. Can't say for sure," Harris said, avoiding his eyes. "But yeah, their colors were spotted near the ridge last night." Cole's eyes darkened. "Then I'm going after them." "You can't," Harris began, but Cole was already walking toward the door, Ellie clinging to his arm. "You can't take her with you," Harris shouted. Cole stopped in the doorway, his back stiff. "Try stopping me." The night swallowed them both as the engines roared again. Ellie sat in the front seat of Cole's black Harley truck, her eyes wide as stars. The desert stretched endless around them, lonely and alive. She was small, but her spirit was fierce, the daughter of a woman who'd faced life's cruelty and still smiled. Cole glanced at her. "You ever been out here before?" She shook her head. "Mama said bad men live out there." He exhaled. She was right. But not all of us stay bad. They reached Miller's Ridge near dawn. The place was desolate. An old gas station, rusted tanks, a sagging billboard that read, "God bless Route 19." Cole found tire tracks, fresh. He crouched low, scanning the dirt, then followed them into the canyon. Ellie followed silently, clutching his hand. They came upon a camp. 5 bikes, 1 truck, and in the center, a group of men laughing around a fire. Cole's blood went cold. He recognized the tattoo on their leader's neck, a red skull with wings. "Stay here," he whispered to Ellie, hiding her behind an old car shell. "No matter what happens, don't move." But Ellie's eyes blazed with something too grown for her age. "You promise you'll bring her back?" He nodded once. "Promise." He stepped into the open, and the laughter stopped. "Well, I'll be damned," the leader sneered. Cole Rayner. The prodigal son returns. Cole's voice was calm, but his hands were fists. "You took a woman from the diner. Lydia Moore. Where is she?" The man smirked. "Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. What's it to you? She's got a little girl," Cole said. "You lay a finger on her, and you'll answer to me." The man laughed, a sound that scraped like broken glass. "Still trying to play hero, Cole? You left the club. You don't get to make demands." "I'm not asking." The next moment was chaos. Fists, knives, the crack of a gun. Cole fought like a storm unleashed. He'd lived half his life running from violence, but tonight, he ran into it for a reason. He took a punch to the jaw, spun, and slammed his elbow into the attacker's throat. Another came from behind. He caught his arm, twisted, and broke it clean. But there were too many. A gunshot echoed. Cole hit the ground, his breath sharp. Then came a small, furious cry, "Leave him alone." Ellie. She was standing at the edge of the firelight, that same pistol shaking in her tiny hands. Her face streaked with dirt and tears. The bikers froze. Even their leader stopped laughing. Cole's heart stopped. "Ellie." "No." Her voice was trembling but strong. "Where is my mother?" No one moved. The world seemed to hold its breath. Then, from inside the truck, came a sound, a muffled cry. Cole's head jerked up. "Lydia." He surged to his feet, slamming into one of the men and throwing him aside. He tore open the back door of the truck, and there she was, tied, bruised, but alive. Lydia's eyes flooded with tears as she saw him. Cole. And then she saw her daughter. Ellie. Ellie dropped the gun and ran, sobbing, into her mother's arms. Cole turned to face the gang again. His eyes were fire. "You made one mistake," he said quietly. "You touched someone innocent." The fight that followed ended quickly. Cole left them on the dirt where they belonged, stripped of power, fear in their eyes. He didn't kill them, but they'd never come near this town again. When the sun rose, Lydia and Ellie sat wrapped in a blanket by the roadside. Lydia's hand rested over Cole's. "You saved us," she whispered. He shook his head. "She saved us both." He nodded toward Ellie, who was asleep against her mother's shoulder. "She had more courage than I ever did." Lydia smiled weakly. "You've changed, Cole." "Maybe," he said softly. "Maybe I just remembered what being human feels like." Days passed. News of what happened spread through the county. The Iron Vultures scattered, their leader arrested by Deputy Harris after Cole handed over evidence. The town began to breathe again. Cole stayed on the edge of town, fixing his old truck outside a rented barn. He didn't expect thanks. He never did. But one morning, Ellie showed up holding 2 cups of cocoa. "Mama said you like coffee," she said shyly, "but cocoa's better." He chuckled softly. "You might be right." She sat beside him, watching the wind move across the fields. "You gonna stay?" she asked. He hesitated. "You want me to?" She nodded. "Mama smiles more when you're around." She laughed last night for the first time. Cole felt something break quietly inside him, the kind of breaking that heals. That evening, Lydia came by the barn. She stood in the soft golden light, hair loose, her eyes still tired but shining. "You could have died," she whispered. He looked at her, voice low. "Would have been worth it." For a moment, neither spoke. The cicadas hummed. The air was warm. "Cole," she said, stepping closer, "you don't have to run anymore." He met her eyes, seeing trust there, fragile, beautiful. "I don't know how to stop." She reached up, brushed a cut on his cheek. Start by staying for dinner. He smiled for the first time in years. Yeah, I can do that. Dinner became routine. Then laughter. Then family. Cole found work fixing engines at the local repair shop. He taught Ellie how to ride a bike, a small pink one with white ribbons. Sometimes, when the sun went down, he'd sit on the porch with Lydia, listening to the crickets, his heart finally quiet. One night, months later, a storm rolled over the plains. Ellie woke crying, the thunder shaking the windows. Cole rushed in, sitting beside her bed. "Hey, brave girl," he whispered. "It's just a storm." She blinked up at him. "You promise Mama won't go away again?" He smiled softly. "I promise. I'll keep you both safe." She snuggled closer, her small hand gripping his. "You're like my daddy now." His breath caught. He looked toward the doorway, where Lydia stood watching, tears in her eyes. "Sleep, Ellie," he murmured, brushing her hair back. "You're safe now." When she fell asleep, he stood and walked to Lydia. She whispered, "You saved her soul, Cole." He shook his head. "She saved mine." And as the storm passed, the three of them stood together, not as broken strangers, but as something that felt like home. Years later, people would still whisper about that night the little girl pointed a gun at bikers. Some said it was madness, others said it was fate. But those who truly knew said it was love. The fierce, desperate love of a child for her mother, and the redemption of a man who thought he'd forgotten how to care. Cole, Lydia, and Ellie stayed in that quiet town, their small diner blooming again, a place where laughter replaced fear. Sometimes bikers would still pass through, but they never caused trouble, because they knew whose town this was now. And every sunset, when the light turned the sky to fire, Ellie would stand outside with her mother and Cole, holding both their hands, whispering to the wind, "We found each other." If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe for more stories that remind you what love, courage, and redemption truly mean. Every like, comment, and share helps keep these heartfelt tales alive.